Hey, welcome to the Summit Host Hangout podcast, where you'll learn how to host a high converting virtual summit that leads to your biggest signature offer and launch yet. I'm your host, Krista from Summit in a Box, and today we are talking about something that makes a lot of summit hosts a little uncomfortable, which is making attendees want your offer during your summit. And I know some of you just internally cringed a little bit. So many of you are so focused on serving your people and adding value that you get uncomfortable when it comes time to sell. Or maybe you've been to summits that feel like one giant pitch fest and you know you don't want to be that person and give that kind of experience. So I totally get that, been there, done that, all those things. But the thing is, you can absolutely make people aware of your offer during your summit without being pushy, without being gross and slimy, without making people feel like they got baited into a sales pitch, under the disguise of a free, valuable summit. And I really do believe that. If you don't let people know about your offer during your summit, you are doing your attendees a disservice. And you're also setting yourself up for a launch that's going to feel like pulling teeth. So let's dive into this episode where we'll talk about how to make your attendees want your offer without being pushy. So I want to start by painting two pictures for you. These are both summits I've attended personally, and I think you'll recognize yourself or your fears in one or both of them. So, number one, we're going to call it the Pitch Fest. And I signed up for a summit like this because the topic was right up my alley, right? I was genuinely excited to learn from the speakers and learn about the topic. But from the moment I signed up, it was just a lot. Every single email was pushing the All Access Pass. Every session ended with a pitch for an offer. The host presentation was really just a webinar for their course. There were pop-ups everywhere. And it just, you felt wrong for not buying. And that is not what we are going for with our summits. I just remember it feeling so gross and off, and I didn't even want anything to do with that company afterwards. The specific one I'm thinking of was before I knew that bro marketing was a thing. It was very early in my days of business. I remember watching this summit while at my full-time job, which would have been 2015. Yeah, 2015. But yeah, I signed up to learn, but instead was just sold to in a pretty high-pressure way at every turn. And I think that's what so many of you are afraid of doing. When in reality, I bet you couldn't make yourself create an event like that, even if you tried. It just goes against the way you serve your people and the way you market. And I think that's a good thing. So you really don't have to worry about that because it's just not going to happen. I don't believe you're capable of making an event like that. However, this next one, I think you could probably do. So number two, we're going to call this one the surprise launch, right? A surprise launch summit. And I've seen lots of these. I'm not even thinking of one specifically, but they're the total opposite from what we just talked about. So the summits are really great, really valuable content, awesome speakers. You can tell the hosts focus on making a really high quality event. But the thing is, they never mention their offer during it. There have been some where I'm not even sure if they have an offer, or I didn't even know to consider it. There was no reason for that to ever cross my mind. But then after the summit ends, it's suddenly boom, my course is open for enrollment. Boom, join this. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I don't even know what this is. You have a course? Since when? Why didn't I know about it? And because it came out of nowhere, I wasn't ready for it. My mind wasn't in the place of thinking about a next step. And it almost felt kind of weird. They were hiding. Why were you hiding this the whole time? And now you're just expecting me to jump on board. It feels like a bait and switch in a different kind of way than the first type of summit we talked about. So I think the lesson here is that both extremes are kind of bad, right? Constant pitching is going to turn people off, of course, but so will hiding your offer and then springing it on people at the last second. So what does work? What I have found that works, what our clients have found that works, and what feels good for everyone involved is building awareness of your offer throughout the summit in a way that feels natural and helpful and aligned with why people showed up in the first place. Okay? So with that out of the way, that's the goal, right? Building awareness. How do we do that without the guilt? How do we do that without feeling bad about selling? Because I know some of you are listening to this and you're like, Krista, great, but I don't want to be salesy. I don't want people to think I'm only hosting the summit to make money. And I get that. But what I want you to consider, other than the fact that you do run a business and you do need to make money, is that if you genuinely believe that your course or membership or program helps people and serves them and gets them results, why wouldn't you want them to know about it? Like, you're hosting this summit because you care about your audience, right? You're bringing together incredible speakers. You're creating a valuable experience. You're giving people a ton of free content to help them move forward. And then at the end, you have something that can help them go even further, something that can give them the support, the community, the step-by-step guidance they need to actually implement what they learned. Why would you hide that from them? That would be like if you were a doctor and you diagnose someone, but then you were like, well, I don't want to be pushy, so I'm not going to tell them about the treatment. Like, that would be ridiculous, right? Your offer is like the treatment. Your summit is like the diagnosis. So building awareness of your offer is just letting people know that the treatment exists, that you can make this so much easier for them, get them results so much faster, and have so much more fun doing it. And that doesn't mean you have to be gross about it. You do not have to pitch constantly. You don't have to guilt people. You don't have to make them feel bad if they don't buy. You can build in so many ways to do it in a way that feels good, but you can also build in ways for people to opt out of hearing more about your offer if they're not interested. That's totally fine. Not everyone who comes to your summit is going to be a fit for your offer. That's expected, and that's okay. But for the people who are a fit, and if you've positioned your summit correctly, there will be a lot of them, it's like you owe it to them to make sure they know what you offer and how it can help them. If I hosted a summit that brought in people who want to host summits, and I was like, great, good luck, and I made them go figure all of it out themselves and host 5+ events before they start getting results I could get them with one, that's doing them a disservice. And also know that you owe it to yourself. Like, you do run a business, you do help people for a living, and there's nothing wrong with letting people know how they can work with you, how you can support them. Okay, so we're not going to feel bad about selling. We're also not going to host a pitch fest or surprise people with our launch. So what are we going to do instead? Really, all we're doing before and during the event is making your attendees aware of your offer, letting them know that it exists. And that's really it. We're not selling in most cases. Maybe every once in a while with certain offers, we might do some selling. With most of them, we're not selling. We're not pitching. We're making sure they know what it is, what it's called, what kinds of results they could get from joining, maybe what kinds of results other people have gotten. And the great part of this is that if you've positioned your summit correctly, this should feel completely natural. It should tie in perfectly. Your summit is strategically positioned to attract people who need what you help them with, right? Like, that's the entire point. You're not just throwing together this random event. You're creating a summit that speaks directly to the people who would benefit most from you. We can help you with that in the Launch with Summit Accelerator, by the way. So by the time people show up to your summit, they're already halfway there. They're interested in the topic. They're experiencing the kind of like transformation or the progress that your offer provides through the summit content. Now all you have to do is gently weave in opportunities for them to become familiar with your offer. So I'll give you a couple examples of what this can look like, and I'm just kind of going to scratch the surface here. We go way deeper on this in the Launch with the Summit Accelerator. But like, first off, so easy. When you introduce yourself during the summit, add a 1-sentence intro of your offer. So for me, it might be something like, hi, I'm Krista, and I help course creators and membership owners host high-converting virtual summits that lead to their biggest launch yet through my program, the Launch with the Summit Accelerator. And then I move along. I'm not being pushy, but I could have easily just said, hey, I'm Krista from Summit in a Box, and moved along. Instead, I'm adding in a sentence about my offer that gives them one little touch point with it. It's not going to do much by itself, but when we stack it together with all kinds of different ways we can do this in your event, it starts to be more meaningful. You could also have your course or your membership as a sponsor of your summit. So that way attendees see it on the registration page, in the schedule, in the emails, all the things, but it doesn't feel like a pitch. It feels like any other sponsorship we're all used to seeing. If you have a membership, you can utilize trials during the summit. This is one of my favorite strategies because it lets people experience what you offer without any pressure. If you have a course, you can put a voucher or bonus in the All Access Pass. That way, people who invest in the All Access Pass get a sneak peek or discount on your course, which builds excitement and awareness, and it removes the barrier of, oh, I already spent money on this, so why would I also spend money on this? It's like, no, here's your money back for this All Access Pass. And then you can also strategically plan your own presentation during the summit so that it naturally leads people to want to learn more. And at the end, it's totally natural to say, if you want to dive deeper into this, if you want XYZ next step, here's where you can go. Or here's when the doors were open. Stay tuned for whatever presentation where we'll open enrollment. You can also do extra live sessions like Q&As or bonus trainings where it makes sense to mention your offer like in the context of that, right? And then you can see the experience of your offer in action. And again, this is just the beginning. There are so many ways to build awareness that feel good, that don't involve constant pitching and that actually serve your attendees by showing them what's possible. We've seen the before and after of this so many times with clients who try to launch through a summit on their own, didn't love the results, and then came to us. And the first example that came to mind when I was like outlining this episode was Shelby. You can actually hear her full story in episode 212. But Shelby has a membership and she hosted a summit on her own to try to grow it. And she actually had our Summit in a Box program. So it was a great and highly successful summit. But at the end of the summit, she only added 26 new members to her membership, which like isn't bad, right? But it wasn't the result she was hoping for. So she knew in the accelerator, we focus on, okay, not only optimizing your summit, but also having a really successful launch on the back end. So she joined the accelerator and we worked with her on positioning her summit a little bit more strategically. We focused with her on this piece of building awareness of her membership through the event. And we set up a launch plan that made more sense and flowed more smoothly. And in that next summit, she brought that 26 new members up to 300 new members. 300 members added in one summit. That is the difference that building awareness strategically can make. And it's not because we taught her to be pushy or gross or pitch constantly. It's not my jam. It's because we taught her how to make sure that by the end of the summit, everyone knew what her membership was. They knew why they might want it. They knew how it could help them. And we showed her how to invite people in a way that would feel aligned based on all of that. So if you are listening and you're thinking, okay, I get it. I need to build awareness, but how do I do this without like messing it all up? You need to be in the Launch with the Summit Accelerator because it is one of those things that's not worth trying to piece together on your own. We will teach you step by step and really be your summit advisory board at every step of the process. We have helped clients go from, like Shelby, adding 26 members to 300. We've helped people go from $1,800 summits to $18,000 summits. We have seen people double up to 40x their return from hosting their event over and over again. And I would love to help you make it work for your summit too. So if you're interested, you can head to summitinabox.co/apply to apply for the accelerator, and we will see if it's a good fit. You can ask us any questions you have. We can talk about it. That is the first step, summitinabox.co/apply. So I hope you found this episode helpful and that you see, like, truly, if you have one takeaway, I want you to see what a service it is to give your attendees a clear next step right within your summit, rather than making them just figure it out and struggle with those next steps afterward. So stop hiding your offer and feeling guilty about promoting it and start building awareness in this way that feels good and serves your people and grows your business as well. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode. For show notes and resources, you can head to the link in the episode description wherever you're listening. And now go out and take action to plan, strategize, and launch your high-converting virtual summit.